Welcome to the Tristan Law Show. If it's your first time here, welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Tristan Law. I'm a semi-retired pro wrestler, and I'm your host. Okay, here's a question for you. What if someone with the last name McMahon joined AEW? But not as a wrestler, but how about as a potential game changer behind the scenes, right? Sounds wild. But today we are fired up to dig into the big rumor making waves. Shane McMahon possibly joining AEW. Could he bring AEW the insider edge that they need to take on the WWE? How might fans react to seeing a McMahon in the rival company? Get ready for an exciting discussion on why this move could make AEW stronger than ever and why Shane's arrival could be just what wrestling fans have been waiting for. Let's take a look at the beginning when it comes to Shane McMahon. His journey began at 15, starting in the WWE company warehouse where he filled merchandise orders. His early roles included being a referee at the very first Royal Rumble and at WrestleMania 6. But by WrestleMania 8, he'd already moved into a backstage role where he took on official responsibilities behind the scenes. Over the years, Shane has expanded his influence, becoming a producer, announcer, and eventually an in-ring performer. As WWE's executive vice president of global media, Shane helped launch WWE's website in 1997, and by 2000, he was actively involved in WWE's decision-making behind the scenes. So now that the table's been set for Shane McMahon, and we understand who Shane McMahon is, let's take a look at some of his memorable moments that he had as a executive and a pro wrestler, so that we can set the table. So in the end, I'm going to tell you why he might be AEW secret weapon, or why it might be good for him to join in. Also, if you're watching live right now or on demand, leave in the chat. Do you think Shane McMahon will be good? What role do you think he'll have in AEW? Go ahead and leave that in the chat, and I'll look at that as we go on. But one of the things I definitely want to look at is X-Pac. He beat X-Pac for the WWF European Championship in February 1999, and then he defended the same exact championship against X-Pac at WrestleMania 15, to where he became the first McMahon to win a championship in the WWE. Looking at some of the executive things that Shane McMahon has done, which will tie in later on to how it will help AEW in the end. Shane has helped finalize major TV deals in Brazil, which allowed Brazilian TV to start airing Raw and SmackDown. This was way back in the day. When Shane McMahon left WWE, if you watch the documentary on Netflix with McMahon, I recommend that you watch it. It's a good watch, whether you're a wrestling fan from today or yesterday. I recommend that you watch it, and I covered it as well too. Check it in the playlist for season 3. But Shane McMahon, he launched and was the CEO of China Broadband Incorporated when he left the WWE in 2010. So what the hell is China Broadband Incorporated? Well, China Broadband Incorporated, they handled video on demand and pay-per-view and enhanced video content in China. How could that help AEW? Okay, let's hold on to that. We'll put that all together later on. Shane McMahon was also the first executive vice president for You On Demand. It was the first ever video on demand and pay-per-view service in China. What kind of business is AEW in? Wrestling business. And they do TV. They do pay-per-view and on-demand programming. Okay, all right, so we'll rock with that so far. And right now, McMahon sits on the board of directors for the International Sports Management, ISM. So the thing that you have to look at with Shane McMahon is that he's an executive. He's an executive through and through. He's understands television. He understands how to sit in the boardroom. He understands how to get those big deals made. So I think that's something that'll be good for AEW. But we'll go a little bit further into it. Let's take a look at what Shane McMahon brings to AEW if he goes into AEW. But first off, why is everybody speculating that Shane McMahon is going to AEW? One reason. This picture right here. This picture right here floated around on the internet for a little bit with Shane McMahon and Tony Khan in the right. That they met And they had a discussion. They have a lot in common, if you ask me, on the surface. You know, they both are fathers of successful businessmen. We're not talking about anything that happened, you know, in the private life, but they're both sons of successful businessmen who want more. And, you know, there's a certain thing that you have when you're just like the oldest kid, you know, and, you know, you came from money. So that's something that they definitely got in common. So everybody started saying, oh, is Shane McMahon going to AEW? Oh no, is Tony Khan going to take Shane McMahon into AEW? You don't know. You don't know. But you know what? We're going to look into the full rumor and speculate, and we're even going to add some conspiracies on top of the rumors. Being in the WWE warehouse starting at age 15, Shane was there for his dad, Vince McMahon, building the WWE into a global powerhouse. Right now, AEW is the number 2 pro wrestling company in America, and they came up out of nowhere, right? They came up out of nowhere. They had a little bit of money, a lot of bit of money, and they went ahead and they're giving the WWE a run for their money. They came from out of nowhere, and now they're right underneath the WWE, and they're jockeying for first place. And if you ask me, regardless of anything, right, I'm a WWE fan through and through, and I've just started watching AEW so we can make more content and I can learn more and enjoy wrestling a lot more. But as a business person, if I was running AEW, why the heck wouldn't I want to be number 1? Why the heck wouldn't I want to unseat WWE from that number 1 position that they've held for over 20 years and be number 1? That's an accolade in itself. And I think by Shane McMahon being with AEW, if he's with AEW, that'd definitely be a good feather for Tony Khan to have in his cap, because he was there when Vince McMahon was building WWF into this global empire that we know now. When Vince McMahon took wrestling from a regional territory to where everybody had their own turf and said, you know what, I'm taking everything over. So I think that'd be definitely a good accolade and a good person for Tony Khan to have on his team. Shane McMahon has seen how WWE has produced television and live events firsthand, and that can help AEW catch up to the production level of the WWE. Is AEW's production level good? Yes, it's good. But can it be better? There's always room for improvement. Even here on this podcast, the Tristan Law Show, I'm always in a room of improvement. I look at one episode and say to myself, how can I be 1% better next time? And when I look at this episode, when I'm done doing it with you guys, I'm going to say, you know, what can I do to be 1% better next time? And that's what I think that AEW is going to be able to use Shane McMahon for, because he had different ways, or maybe ideas that he had for his dad that Vince didn't probably want to use. Hey, you know what? I think that everybody's idea is always worth some kind of thought. And I think that if Shane McMahon has a good thought, you know what? I think that Tony Khan should probably go for it and look into it. Shane McMahon has also been in the room when his dad was writing storylines. AEW could definitely use a shot in the arm when it comes to storytellings and storytelling and storylines. We all know that. We watch AEW and we go, damn, that story doesn't really make any sense. And then we wait. And it's like, okay, well, maybe it makes a kind of little bit of sense. We just don't know. However, I think that with Shane McMahon bringing on the mentality that he learned from his dad and putting the new age spin on it, it's going to work. Everybody's saying, yeah, okay, well, you know what? It's a McMahon. A McMahon is a McMahon. It won't work. Okay, you know what? Maybe because it's a McMahon, it maybe won't work. But I think one of the things that made Vince McMahon fall out of touch and started alienating himself from the audience, we're not talking about all the stuff that he did and he's going through court. The stuff that alienated Vince McMahon from the fans is because he got a little bit too old. But because Shane McMahon is a 50-year-old man, and I think Tony Khan is about my age, in his late 30s, early 40s. So I think that definitely Tony Khan would be able to take some of Shane's ideas and his way of storytelling and meld them together and possibly, hopefully, make the product better. Look, I don't want AEW to put WWE out of business, and I don't want WWE to put AEW out of business. I feel that there's enough room at the table for everybody to eat. However, there needs to be one person sitting at the head of the table. So if anything that can happen to make AEW better, hey, let's go for it. Because I think WWE performs a lot better when they are under competition. Looking at Shane, Shane knows all of the tricks that his dad used to become successful, and AEW can use that to sit further at the head of the table up next to WWE. 100%. WrestleMania, the mad mind mentality behind WrestleMania is wow. If you watch the story behind WrestleMania and how it was started and you hear it from Vince himself, you'd be like, wow, he was crazy. He bet it all. So, obviously Shane McMahon would probably have that madman mentality as well too, to an extent. So maybe if Tony Khan lets him, maybe he can do different things to, to run and make AEW more successful. Looking at Shane's insider information that he has, Shane could be free to share his insider knowledge to help AEW. Why can Shane McMahon lend his insider knowledge to help AEW? Simple. Because he doesn't have a horse in the race anymore. There is not a McMahon that owns WWE anymore. His dad doesn't own it. He still has a fiduciary responsibility to his dad, because at the end of the day, his dad is his dad. Regardless of what anybody else thinks, his dad is his dad. Okay? So his sister does not own the company. His brother-in-law may be at the head of the company, but at the head when it comes to talent relations and writing WWE, but he's not the boss. He doesn't own all of WWE. So there's no real fiduciary responsibility from Shane McMahon that he has to protect some of the secrets. Anything that he can do to help make AEW is great. Like I said, Shane's only family member in the WWE is Triple H. His family doesn't own the corporation anymore. So, he can definitely give AEW some help. I think that if Shane McMahon helps AEW, there will not be one less seat at the Thanksgiving table when it comes to the McMahon family. All right, there might be. Vince might not be invited, but compared to everybody else, there will be at least Shane will still be invited to the table. Now, let's add a conspiracy rumor. Let's add a conspiracy onto the rumor that Shane McMahon is going to AEW. What if Shane McMahon is there and has Vince McMahon in his ear? Vince could want to see AEW give WWE real competition and unseat them from the number one spot, because Vince could be a little salty that he got forced out of his own company. That is what I call the conspiracy on top of the rumor. Let me say it again. What if Shane McMahon is there and Vince McMahon is in his ear? Vince could want to see AEW give WWE real competition and unseat them from the number one spot, because Vince McMahon's salty because he got forced out of his own company. The company that he built himself, that he bought from his dad. He bought an extra mortgage. He built the company up to this global empire. He turned it corporate and then merged it with another corporation to change the name from WWE to TKO. And then they kicked him out. For whatever reason may be, we're not going to look into those reasons. Vince McMahon could be a little salty. Would you be a little salty if that was you? Put that in the comments. Let me know. I 100% don't believe if Shane McMahon's grandfather knew what would happen to the WWF now, he would have never sold it to Shane McMahon's father, Vince McMahon. Never. Never, ever, ever. Now it's owned by some corporate conglomerate. God, I can't even talk. It's owned by some kind of big corporation, right? We always thought as fans that WWE was always going to be owned by a McMahon. And boy, were we wrong. If we were betting the over and under whether WWE would be owned by a McMahon, we'd all be broke right now, because everybody would have bet that a McMahon would still own WWE. Can Shane McMahon serve as an on-screen authority figure in AEW? Of course he can. I think, though, from a booking point of view and from a Sunday morning, Monday morning quarterback kind of view that I'm booking AEW, it's way too easy to book. Can Shane McMahon wrestle for AEW? Of course. And if you ask me, that's way too easy. Way too easy. That's like stealing candy from a baby. However, I don't think that Shane McMahon, in his 50-year-old life, that he's actually concerned with wrestling for AEW. Because think about it like this. If Shane wanted to wrestle, he could easily do it for the WWE with a whole lot less pressure. So let's say that he is an authority figure, Shane McMahon. Maybe he's like a GM or he's the head guy, whatever it is, underneath Tony Khan or whatever. Maybe Tony Khan says, hey, you know what? We're going to put Shane McMahon in charge on the television. He's going to book matches. He's going to do all these things because he has the experience on how to do it as compared to anybody else. Because he was the GM for SmackDown, wasn't he? It would have to be something really compelling. And they couldn't just waste Shane McMahon and just put him on TV just to put him on TV. It would be a waste of time, and Shane would be much better as a behind-the-scenes agent. Look, let's be honest, right? Shane McMahon doesn't need AEW. Shane McMahon does not need pro wrestling. He may like AEW, he may like pro wrestling, but he's a businessman at heart who has the last name of an iconic wrestling family, McMahon, and he stood on his own. If there is a disagreement between Tony Khan and Shane McMahon could just leave. He could either be an employee with a contract or a consultant on a contract. He can just leave. He doesn't need wrestling. He has his son is his family. He's got his ventures. He's got the things that he's put money into. A couple years ago, they said that he invested in a cannabis company. Great. But I think that Tony Khan wouldn't keep Shane McMahon close at first. Yeah, they've already broken bread as per Tony Khan about, the similarities that they have together. But, I think it would take a few small ideas from Shane McMahon that Tony Khan would use, see how they were going before Tony Khan became all in. If you like what I'm doing, subscribe. Subscriptions mean a lot to me. I think it's a compliment. It means that I'm doing a really great job. And if you've already subscribed, go ahead and hit that like button because it means that you like it. And if you like the Tristan Law Show, that means I like you too. Let's look at Shane McMahon's potential impact on AEW and WWE competition. So let's be honest. Shane's experience could help Tony Khan come up with his own visions of the WWE visions. So in case you don't know, right? As a semi-retired pro wrestler, one of the things that I learned is that there's nothing really too brand new in pro wrestling. It's all stuff that we've taken and just recycled them and we're just using them again, right? We're just washing it, putting a new skin on it and saying, hey, it's brand new. So if Tony Khan is getting old ideas that Shane McMahon used to give to Vince and Vince didn't want to take those, right? Or ideas that Vince McMahon might have used, but he didn't really use them well. And Shane could say, hey, my dad did this idea. Why don't you use this? That's Tony Khan taking a WWE vision and turning it into his own, right? The story is not copyrighted because they're not using the story, the names of the wrestlers. But if they plug in and out different things and put their own spin on it, I think it's okay. Sometimes you need a different person giving you different ideas on how to do things. I listen to ideas all the time. So if you got an idea for something I can do for a future episode, drop it in the comments. AEW could probably shoot TV in a different style, working with Shane McMahon, but it's not rocket science to create a great production, a television production, if you've got money. Just hire the right people. And I think those right people could be in Shane McMahon. Being honest again, the storytelling does need some help in AEW. I'm 2 weeks in watching AEW, and I'm like, some things click and some things don't. The wrestling is good. It's not horrible, but it's a storyline. It's an emotional investment that AEW doesn't get from me. I think that Shane may give away some tips that his dad used to create TV and compelling storylines, but I don't think that they would be as adult-centric, sex, like WWE was. Nah, I don't think that at all. Not at all. AEW couldn't tell stories like WWE, though, because AEW's core audience does not care about WWE styles, matches, and storylines. Let's be honest. If they did, there would not be a market for AEW to thrive. Now, here's the way I look at it, right? WWE does sports entertainment really well. Really well. They're able to take the sport and add the entertainment factor to it and do really well. I think that that's what WWE does really well. What AEW does really well is pro wrestling. If you want a great pro wrestling show without none of the glamour, the glitz, you want a simple, basic pro wrestling show that is entertaining and that shows athletic competitions, watch AEW. But if you want to be entertained and you want to ha-ha-he-he a little bit, you can guarantee a ha-ha-he-he a little bit if you're watching WWE programming. There are people in this world, in the pro wrestling world, wrestlers, people that have worked backstage, who have a bad taste in their mouth from the WWE and may not be receptive to Shane McMahon working in AEW. There's somebody out there that has a Vince McMahon screwed me story, and if they're running with a Vince McMahon screwed me story, who else can they take it out on? Shane McMahon. Some people might not be able to understand that Shane is not Vince. Some people may just be in Pettyville and may just want to say, you know what, I'm going to take advantage of the situation and I'm going to take advantage of Shane. I don't think that's the professional thing to do. If you've got a gripe with me, do not take it up with my son, because if you take it up with my son, I might lose my mind. Those people left the WWE for a reason, and they don't want AEW to become WWE. So now looking back at everything, let's look at WWE as a whole, right? How would WWE feel about Shane McMahon joining potentially AEW? I see the question being thrown at Triple H doing a press conference because that is just how people behave. Everybody wants a hot take. If I had the opportunity, I don't think, and I only had one question, I don't think I'm going to burn my question on that. As I said earlier, I don't think there'll be an empty seat at the table, at the McMahon Thanksgiving table. There might not be one for Vince. There might not be. You know, it might be a little bit awkward in the McMahon house, so he might not be invited. But if Shane McMahon joins AEW anytime between now and Thanksgiving, I think that they'll definitely bring him over to the table. I'm sure that he will be wished success in his new role if it happens for Shane McMahon. And I think WWE will naturally make moves to keep up if AEW's momentum builds with Shane on board. Why? It's business. That's it. WWE has a fiduciary responsibility to the TKO shareholders. I'm a TKO shareholder, and I don't want WWE to sit back and go, well, you know, Shane McMahon is there and they're catching up. I'm like, no, WWE, catch up and keep making me money, because I like when you make money. When you make money, I make money. WWE has always been at its best when there's some kind of competition. If you don't believe me, look at the Monday Night Wars. I don't think WWE sees AEW as full-on competition. However, I think that WWE would be 100% dumb if they weren't keeping an eye on AEW. Seeing a McMahon in pro wrestling that's not the WWE is really crazy. Well, let me tell you something. It wouldn't be the first time. Oh, what? You don't believe me? No, I'm not talking about Shane McMahon going to WCW. That does not count. What I'm talking about is Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon appeared for USWA in 1993. And that USWA was ran by Jerry Jarrett, Jeff Jarrett's father. And Vince McMahon had a little feud with Jerry Lawler. But you know what? That's a whole other video. The whole point of that is just to prove that a McMahon has been on other pro wrestling programming that is not WWE. It's only happened one time. If you want to count the time that Shane McMahon was there in WCW, that doesn't count. And the only reason that does not count is because WWE owned them. So that doesn't count. So let's look at some of the fan backlash with AEW having a McMahon there. AEW fans may not be interested in a McMahon in AEW. I said it. They may not care. The fans, they may not care, meaning that they may not appreciate it. They may not like it. They don't give two rats' butts. Fans may not want their AEW tainted by the hands of a McMahon. They know what a McMahon can do, and that's why they left WWE. AEW, though, is not a public company, so they don't have to disclose everything. So for all we know, Shane McMahon could just be an advisor in the dark. Him and Tony Khan and Shane McMahon could be on the phone kiki and he and all night like little schoolgirls, all night talking about wrestling, and we don't even know it. AEW fans are diehard around their product, and a portion of them might just flee to where they were pre-AEW if Shane McMahon joins. But there's a portion of fans that has made AEW part of their routine, and they would give it the fair chance. But AEW would have to be very careful to not be WWE 2.0. That was the downfall of TNA during the Eric Bischoff regime. Just being honest. In order for AEW to address this and make it tasty, tantalizing for fans, they would have to stay true to their product and allow Shane McMahon to add an additional flair. So on Threads, I asked a question, and the question that I asked was, what do you think about Shane McMahon joining AEW in any role? Well, let's see what we got. We got from Zach Anthus. He said, I really don't see what he could bring to AEW that isn't already there. That's not a knock to him. He just doesn't see it. Okay, maybe he's got a point, right? Maybe he's one of those people that's going to have to wait and see. Actually, thank you so much for participating on Threads, and you could follow me on Threads at The Real Big Tris. Maybe he's one of those people that just have to watch it to see, right? He's like, you know what? I'm not too skeptical. He doesn't see what he can offer, but you know what? Let me just sit back and just see what he brings to the table. We got another comment from Quiet1 Tonight. Quiet_1_ tonight. He says that it would be a hard pill for some fans because of who his gross father is. But he is someone who really loved the business. I wouldn't want to see him on camera, but I think that he can help behind the scenes, maybe with their failing attendance. Look, thank you so much for your comment. Number one, I agree. I wish that the people that watch WWE would go watch AEW, right? There's something in it for everyone. But there are people that diehard fan that showed up to AEW and they're no longer there. Where did these people go? Did AEW start booking bigger arenas that they can't fill it with the people? I don't know. But if there's anything that can be helped, maybe Shane McMahon's a consultant. I think that he'd be good for that role within AEW. Taking a look at another comment from Herman Z. Eagle says, my thoughts are he's already there. That's adding a conspiracy onto the conspiracy. They're waiting for the right time and place to introduce him, probably Full Gear. Maybe they're going to introduce him as some kind of on-screen character, maybe, but I don't think that he should be wasted as an on-screen character. I don't think that they should be wasting him as a behind-the-scenes person and introducing him on television. Why would it make any sense? Just have him secretly behind the scenes. If they want to talk about it in a press release or casually mention it somewhere, I think that would work. But I don't think that them putting McMahon on Shane McMahon on TV to just say, hey, look, he's here, makes any sense. If he's going to be some kind of enforcer or something like that, that would work. But wrestling, I don't see the wrestling part. Thank you so much for your comment. Taking a look at another comment, we got wrestling is wonderful. True McMahon fashion, trying to buy everything up or be involved in some way. I say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Thank you so much for your comment. Let me tell you this. I 100% believe in my heart that AEW is not for sale. So even if McMahon goes there, he's probably going to be some kind of consultant. He's going to be some kind of on-screen character, which includes a general manager, authority figure, or a wrestler. I don't see him being a wrestler. It's a waste. It's a waste. 100% waste leaving him as a wrestler. If he wants to wrestle, he go wrestle in the WWE. But I feel in my heart, AEW is not for sale. If it was for sale, someone would have been able to buy it already. They say that everybody has a price. The $1 Million Man, right? Great words from the $1 Million Man. But I don't think AEW is for sale, so I think that idea is off the table. Thank you so much for your comment. I appreciate your comment, and I hope to see you soon. Looking at the last comment that we got here, it's from Bex_Bastet. She says, I'm neutral about it. Happy for most people to have a chance. It would be egotistical of me to have any definitive ideas on what's actually going on behind the scenes with anything. You know why I chose that comment? I chose that comment because she's a wrestling fan and she plays her role, right? But I think that the fun part about being a wrestling fan is that you get to book your fantasies. You get to book it, right? You never know what role Shane McMahon might have here in AEW if he goes to to AEW. But definitely, it's something that we're going to have to keep watching just to see what happens. Thank you so much for sending me your messages on Threads. And if you like what I'm doing here, you're watching this live or on demand, go ahead and mash that subscribe button. And if you're watching, just hit the like, all that. If you already subscribed, let's do that. Let's look at the business impact of Shane McMahon joining AEW. If Shane McMahon joins AEW, something to look at is that AEW is trying to get in front of more eyes. Shane McMahon's prior experience with pay-per-view and on-demand television, it could be really useful for AEW. Shane's prior experience in WWE working from the ground floor up may help AEW streamline some of their operations. Shane McMahon came into the business, right? He could have came into the business the last day McMahon and could have been sitting at the table at 15 years old, but he said no. His dad said no. You're going to go work in the warehouse. You're going to learn what $1's worth, and you're going to learn every single aspect of the business. I think it might have been eventually Shane McMahon, Vince McMahon's dream to pass on the company to his kids, because the way that Stephanie McMahon was trained and Shane McMahon was trained on the amount of things that they can do. AEW is everywhere, but it isn't everywhere. WWE is dominant internationally, and AEW definitely wants a piece of the pie. Rightfully so, it's business. Securing more global partnerships would be a good thing, or even figuring out ways to start their own streaming service for AEW. The current way to digest WWE programming in America has a bad taste in our mouths. We don't get the WWE Network for $9.99 anymore. We get Peacock. It's nice, but I personally don't like how the WWE Network on Peacock works anymore. I like that back on the WWE Network, I could type in, Shane McMahon WrestleMania, and it's showing me Shane McMahon WrestleMania matches, and then I can click it and watch that particular moment. And if I want to watch beyond that, if there was moments after that, I can watch the rest of the event after that. But if I type in Shane McMahon WrestleMania, it's going to show me every WrestleMania and on Peacock, and I have to watch it and wait for the whole entire thing to happen. It sucks. If AEW does go that route to have their own streaming program, I think it'd be a game changer for AEW. They wouldn't start a streaming service tomorrow because we're acting crazy by saying that, but they would definitely have some fresh ideas on how to. All right, let's be real here. Some of you might be skeptical about Shane McMahon joining AEW, but I'm here to say it, bring it on. Shane McMahon at AEW, that's not just some random signing. This could be a game changer. I mean, here's a guy who's been around the wrestling business since he's 15. Someone who's seen how WWE rose to become a global brand. He's got that insider knowledge of pro wrestling how-to, both in the ring and behind the scenes. AEW can use that boost, that experience, and let's be honest, maybe a few tricks he picked up from the WWE machine. And think about it. He doesn't have any ties to WWE anymore. He's free to share his knowledge, help AEW tighten up their production, and maybe even give the storytelling that extra kick that it needs. With Shane's history and knowledge, AEW can stay true to what makes it unique while evolving and leveling up in a way that makes the entire industry better. Now, I know that there will be fans saying, we don't want a McMahon at AEW. We don't want WWE 2.0. But here's the thing. AEW is not TNA around 2005 to 2016, and Shane doesn't need to bring WWE style to make a difference. Imagine him behind the scenes, not taking over, but enhancing what's already there. The beautiful, the powerful, it's that wrestling is always best when the competition is fierce. Just look at the Monday Night Wars. WWE thrives when they're challenged, and if Shane can push AEW to the next level, we're all going to win. So to the skeptics out there, I say give it a chance, because if Shane McMahon joining AEW doesn't shake things up, I don't know what will. Pro wrestling is about to get a whole lot more interesting, and I'll be honest, I am here for it. Thanks so much for joining me today on another episode of the Tristan Law Show. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you like what I did. I'll be back on Friday with another episode. We're going to be looking at WWE Crown Jewel and getting you ready for that amazing event. And then on Saturday, I'm bringing you a live interview from pro wrestling powerhouse Corey Dillinger. If you don't know who he is, make sure that you tune in live on Saturday right here on the Tristan Law Show. Oh yeah, and Sunday, I'm bringing you the recap of WWE Crown Jewel, so make sure that you're here. We got a lot of content coming out, and I don't want you to miss it. I'm Tristan Law. This is the Tristan Law Show. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.